Now, there's not too many times that we actually put a stamp on a weapon and we say, hey, this is the best weapon amongst all the weapons within its archetype. I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say this is the best auto rifle in Destiny 2 in the current sandbox, which is Sandbox 2.8.0. I don't know when you're watching this video, all right? But I'm gonna say, if you're not present in the time frame of now, you're missing out, man. Because this auto rifle is straight nasty. Not a little nasty, not kinda nasty, it's all nasty. Now, this weapon is called Galliard 42. It's actually the Black Armory auto rifle. Big shout out here to Grey Bandit for reaching out to me. He hit me with a screenshot of this auto rifle, and I just thought to myself, I better give it a try, just in case. Because I was just talking up dynamic sway here recently. We actually went over it the other day, and I forgot to mention how dynamic sway completely mitigates the bloom on auto rifles. It's quite amazing. But then we started thinking a step further. What if we ever paired dynamic sway reduction with, say, rangefinder? Perk that greatly boosts our zoom, but with that increase in zoom as well as range, produces some inconsistencies that I find unfavorable at times, which is why I haven't always recommended rangefinder on auto rifles. I say it's good, but it's not for everyone. This is for everyone. This is for people that have no thumbs, or people that do have thumbs. This is for people that play mouse and keyboard or controller. It don't matter, man. I don't care. If you're playing with nunchucks, you will get kills with old Gally here. Gally don't play. Now, first up on these rolls, intrinsically, this is an adaptive frame auto rifle, meaning it shoots at 600 rounds per minute. Actually, the most competitive archetype of auto rifles this season. The scope that we chose is actually the SPO 28 front scope. Now, I really like this scope. No, it doesn't give you the biggest zoom, and yes, we are going to talk about zoom. I know a lot of people think that's boring, but it matters. It's a +3 zoom with a +11 range, as well as an increase there to our handling. Now, even though there's other scopes in this category that does boost that zoom even further, I found this to be a good middle ground between being both a very good scope to allow me to see everything in front of me, as well as the reticle to me is just not as jumpy. I like that about it. It's fat, but it's fat enough. You know, you don't want to go too fat with your reticles, and I mentioned before in the past to go with the fattest of reticles, but I've kind of retracted that statement, okay? Voluptuous is kind of what you're wanting here, and what I'm saying is that the SPO 28 front scope or sight has that voluptuous quality to it. It's not overboard. It's not so fat you can't even see what you're hitting. It's just fat enough. And that's what you want. And with that +3 there in zoom, this greatly benefits us actually tacking on close to 4 meters in extra range. We're in post rifle territory with this one. Trust me, it gets nastier. Our magazine perk is ricochet rounds for that bump there in stability as well as range. And our first trait, dynamic sway reduction. I talked about it the other day on Summoner. I said Summoner is a fantastic auto rifle, but I felt like I was liking my dynamic sway roll more than my rangefinder roll, which was odd because I figured the rangefinder roll would completely trump our more stable roll. Now, I attributed the stability to elemental capacitor instead of dynamic sway. And although the stability was nice and noticeable from elemental capacitor, that's not what made that roll so good. Now, what made that roll so good was dynamic sway. Matter of fact, when you actually see me shoot an auto rifle without dynamic sway, notice the flare out there, the bloom taking effect, the inaccuracy that is occurring by you laying on the trigger. That's the game saying, hey man, you're shooting this gun way too much, so we're gonna fuck with your aim for no reason. Dynamic sway protects you against that RNG bullshit, which is what's so nice right here. It kicks in pretty much from the first shot. I used to think that it actually takes a second to activate. No, it kicks in almost immediately, boosting that accuracy by simply reducing that inaccuracy. So it doesn't necessarily boost the accuracy, it just allows for what is inherently inaccurate about weapons that you fire in full auto to remain accurate as you shoot the weapon, which is very, very important, especially when we combine it with a trait like rangefinder. Rangefinder right here increases that effective range and zoom magnification. I mentioned the benefits that rangefinder presents. I think the other day when we actually looked at auto rifle, it tacks on an extra 3 meters. Combine that with that SPO 28 front scope that is present on this roll, we were actually looking at a range fall off of 34 meters, maybe a tad bit more. Now we could go a step further. Obviously, if you had a better scope with more zoom, like the SPO 57, or maybe even a step further, the SRO 52, yes, those things throw up that scope quite a bit, but understand, at some point, you get too much zoom, man. You know what I mean? You get that magnifying glass on too much that can really screw you up in the short range. Even with this scope right here, being that +3 there in zoom with rangefinder, I still had to check myself in close quarter fights and actually back off a bit and start hip firing, because that was the only way I could actually keep my shots together when certain opponents were collapsing on me. Now, again, this really just comes down to how long you play with the weapon. Obviously, this is just because I'm not used to correcting myself in terms of my aim with that extra zoom. Once you play with the weapon long enough, you get used to that. You know, moving your joystick or your mouse affects your aim in a certain way that allows you to retain that muscle memory. Now, the masterwork found on this weapon is a reload masterwork. He had a targeting mod on it, which is what I left it on myself. To be honest with you, it don't even matter. It don't even matter what mod you have on this thing. If you got this roll right here, this dynamic sway with rangefinder roll, you're about to be slapping hard light users in the mouth. Felis, this was the most dominant auto rifle I have played with. Now, most 600 round per minute auto rifles, if not all of them, have a base default time to kill of 0.7 seconds, okay? They're fast. This one doesn't have anything boosting its lethality. No rampage, no kill clip, no damage dealing perks. Everything here is boosting that consistency. And in some sense, that's exactly what you want to go for. In the previous sandboxes, I don't think I would have gone with this roll, because in previous sandboxes, most auto rifles needed some perks there to boost that damage. But in this sandbox, when a weapon already has a 0.7 time to kill value and its only downside is actually hitting consistent crit after crit, boys, the only thing you should be reaching for is a consistent roll on any 600 round per minute auto rifle. Adaptive frames in this sandbox are actually hitting 25.2 per crit and 15.75 per body. And out of all of the 600 round per minute auto rifles that we have played with, none of them have been able to be as consistent as old Galliard right here. And you can tell from just the gameplay, guys. This thing absolutely wrecks. It's hitting shots that don't even make sense. So why does this auto rifle perform better than other auto rifles, even better than some of our exotics like Hardlight, Suros, and Monte Carlo? Stat-wise, guys, this is probably right there in the middle between all of them. It's got decent range, but not the best, with a decent stability stat. Aim assist is not the lowest, but it's not the highest. Everything here screams mediocre, but it's the combination of its scopes and sights, as well as the perk combination, that gives it a leg up. Summoner, as good of an auto rifle as it is, can roll with rangefinder and dynamic sway, and can do the exact same thing here, except get that extra range in zoom. Because it only has barrel perks, it does not have the potential to increase that range to 34, 35 meters and beyond, because it does not have anything there in those scopes to boost that zoom. And when I actually take a look at many of the other rolls for our auto rifles, I kind of run into the same situation with them. They may have something there to boost the zoom, but not exactly the right perk combination, or they could have the right perk and the right scope, but maybe they're missing one perk. Ether Doctor is a great example. It actually has dynamic sway. It has scopes there that boost the zoom. It appears to be everything that Galliard is, but it's missing out on rangefinder. So today's review is not necessarily about a weapon that individually is the best in the game. It's the fact that for some reason, Bungie has allowed, whether intentional or not intentional, the holy trinity to exist on one gun. A fast time to kill, the right perk combination, and the ability to manipulate range through our scopes and zoom. Now, should you run and go farm this weapon up immediately? Kind of hard to farm for. It's a random drop from forges. On top of that, pretty sure weapons are about to be sunset from that era. So dropping everything that you're doing just to go get this roll. By the way, he's probably super, super rare to get. The only reason why Grey Bandit even got his, he said he was actually finishing up triumphs last season, doing some forges, and it happened to drop randomly, which really, really sucks. I cannot express how good this auto rifle is. And believe me, I gotta go back to my account, play with my guns, and realize that everything I'm playing with is a poor man's version of what this auto rifle could do. You see, the only weapons that can roll with this combination with scopes to boost that zoom are surprisingly some of our 360 round per minute auto rifles. Things like Half Dan. Half Dan actually has the Holy Trinity, or two pieces of the Holy Trinity. What it doesn't have is a competitive time to kill value. I mean, it's not bad, 0.83 seconds, but it's not 0.7. You know what I mean? On top of that, it's not spamtastic like these adaptives. If at any point in the future 360s get a buff, you can bet your right nut Half Dan is going to be the most dominant 360 in the game. More dominant than Pluperfect, sights, more dominant than Galeron's right hand, and even more dominant than the new Seraph auto rifle. The only other auto rifle that almost reaches that holy trinity of both rangefinder, dynamic sway, but it's missing out on scopes, outside of course the summoner, is actually Valagadin. Valagadin can also roll rangefinder, dynamic sway. The only problem is Valagadin is still stuck there at its base default zoom of 16 and just base barrel perks. Now that's not to say it's not still good, just understand the level of good that we're at. When we're reviewing a role like Galliard here, seeing the kills that it's achieving, the range it's achieving it, and the ability to easily hit crit after crit at just stupid, dumb ranges. That's what's so crazy about this gun. It's not the fact that it has great range, it's the fact that it's able to hit these crits at full auto like it's year one of Destiny 1. It's insane. So I know I've sat here and I've screamed in your ears that this weapon is the best over and over again. It's like I'm trying to convince you that this auto rifle is better than all the other weapons. Here's the thing. It is, but you probably won't see many people using it. Because if they're like me, they sat there looking in their vault last season. They saw that Galliard and they thought to themselves, it ain't gonna be that good. It won't be good. Bungie's not gonna buff auto rifles. Are you crazy? And then you delete it. And now it's season of the freaking worthy. Auto rifles got a buff, and I deleted Galliard last season. I can't even remember what role it was, but I think it was still a pretty good role. A good enough role that I kept it in my vault for over a year. So yeah, check your vaults. If you got dynamic sway, if you got rangefinder, you don't need kill clip, you don't need rampage. Those are the two trait combinations that you need. Combine that with a half decent scope, more preferably the SBO 28 front scope. You're gonna be cooking, fellas. You're gonna be the most dominant auto rifle user in the game. For the rest of you poor bastards that don't have this auto rifle, I guess I'll see you in the forges. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.